Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, well, it is very difficult to speak after a role model and after two distinguished speakers. There is probably nothing very new I would come up with. Now, I will start by telling you the story of my exposure to the humanitarian world. In 1984, as Secretary General of the Ethiopian Red Cross, I saw devastating effects of hunger firsthand, as hundreds of thousands of lives in my country were tragically lost. Millions were left destitute, and the entire country was plunged into the worst famine in its history. At the Ethiopian Red Cross, we increased our assistance from 100,000 people to more than 1 million people in a short time. However, this type of crisis leaves scars, both visible and invisible, and unless the capacity of communities is restored and the root causes of such crises are addressed, communities remain unable to deal with future challenges. Progress has been made since then. Ethiopia's growth and transformation plan is testament to the political will and leadership needed to lifting the poor out of poverty. Through its successful social protection scheme entitled the Productive Safety Net program, the country is now forging a new economic paradigm and building resilient communities. Now, I will give you another example of what is happening in the Red Cross in Africa. In Mauritania, a drought-prone country in which more than 1 million people don't have enough to eat, the Mauritanian Red Crescent has, against all the odds, created 28 communal vegetable gardens led by women. These gardens flourish despite the desert heat and aridity. The impact is being felt by families who have enough to eat, by children who are no longer suffering from malnutrition, and by parents who have a little extra funds to dip into every month. Why has this initiative succeeded? In large part because it was community-focused. People were engaged from before the project started and actively involved throughout its implementation. This is the crux of any programming initiated by the Red Cross. It needs to have people, it needs to have communities at its core. Simply put, sustainability in food and nutrition resilience requires robust political planning from governments, as well as a change in the mindsets of the people and communities, so they become active contributors in their local or national economies, with or without external assistance. We have been in this crisis in Africa for too long, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to pull all our resources together to have meaningful change. Food crisis can only be prevented through solid commitment from governments, from the people, from the private sector, and from civil society. Now, therefore, my messages are the following. Number one, we must have commitment from governments. It is up to them to establish systems towards food self-sufficiency, to create their own systemic national and locally owned planning processes to effectively contain repeated food crises. Progress has been made, but much more is expected from global, regional, and national governments, individually and collectively. Message two is commitment is also required from the people themselves. People aspire to become normal consumers and active contributors to their domestic economies. This must be supported, and it can be supported in many ways. First and foremost, we have to have the trust in them. We have to believe them, that they can take their destiny into their own hands and make a big difference in their lives. This is extremely important. Unless they do it, we will not be able to do it for them. So we have to be able to work with them. Now, for the Red Cross, for example, with a volunteer base of 17 million worldwide, the Red Cross Red Crescent is best placed to reach the heart of communities and spur behavioral change. In 2013 alone, the Red Cross Red Crescent invested 122 million Swiss francs on disaster risk reduction activities in 112 countries, reaching more than 25 million people of the most vulnerable ones. Now, my third area is we have to be able to motivate, influence the academics to effectively engage. Yes, they do research, many things, but they have to go out there and work with the people and help them. In many other areas, but particularly in introducing technology for information and for knowledge, spreading knowledge that is acquired around the world. And this knowledge will make a big difference for the people. Now, my third message is we have to be able to work with the private sector, governments, civil society, all of us. We have to be able to push the private sector to invest in agriculture. It is for their own future business. It is not philanthropy. It's not charity. If the income infrastructure of the community, the country increases, the purchasing power increases. It's good for their own business, and therefore we must really pressure them to do it. And finally, civil society organizations, especially ourselves, Red Cross, Red Crescent, at national level, at international level, we have to be able to do much more and much better. We are working now, yes, but it is not enough. We have to be able to partner with governments, grow the auxiliary status, participate in decision-making on humanitarian and development, and influence fundamental change at policy level, influence change at people's level, including the way of life of people, including attitudes and mindsets, including convincing them to adopt new ways of doing things. So we have a lot to do together, ladies and gentlemen. It can be done, and we should be able to get rid of hunger and malnutrition. Thank you very much.